What is going on, Straight Talk Faithful? Your host, your boy, George Mackay, pre-recorded via Skype, and I got a good one today. You can already see it on the video when I upload it on the YouTube page, but please welcome to Straight Talk Wrestling, the Sauce, Alex Zayne.
What up? How we doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. We are in the midst of this kind of COVID-19 thing. Right. So the one good thing about being a podcaster is that this has opened up an opportunity to get a hold of a lot of people.
Yeah, normally couldn't. Now, right?
Yeah, so I'm kind of blessed with that, and thank you for taking the time out today. I know things are, everybody's going crazy right now in the world. There's, nobody knows what tomorrow is going to bring, but you sit down with me for 45 minutes, that means the world. I can't say enough about that.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who's watching. Appreciate it. And I'm ready to be on the other side of this, like most of us are, I think.
You know what, man? The one thing I miss the most is shows. I miss going to indie wrestling shows. I miss going to the big organization shows. First time I actually saw you was Thanksgiving weekend. You were up here in Canada, Mississauga, at Destiny, and you wrestled one of my good friends and a former guest of mine, Aiden Prince.
The man.
And that was the first time I really got to see you. And then beyond that, I had my little daughter with me at the time, so we couldn't get a chance to stay and meet you after the show, so we kind of had to boogie home.
Right.
But, man, I did my research, and I was like, okay, you know what? He's got a huge following. He's known. And then before you know it, boom, what happens? February, you drop on one of my favorite promotions, ROH. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, not only now have I seen this guy intimately and in person, now he's in ROH. He's mixing with one of my former guests. I got guests from ROH like PCO. I interviewed him. He's a fantastic talent. But what I loved about that match the most is who you were going against. I've been a Bandito fan for a minute. And
he is the man.
That match, all I did was this.
Bandito is outrageous. And he is strong as hell. It's crazy.
Well, I think both of you took each other to the limit there, and you could see it at the end of the match. The battle scars, everything was there. The fatigue, it was all there. And the one thing about the match I didn't like was that the commentator at the end was like, "That's got to be an upset." No way,
Right.
That wasn't an upset. You won.
I wasn't.
You won that fair and square. I wasn't upset with it either. I appreciate Bandito, and I think he's a great talent. But I don't think there was anything wrong with you getting the win on that day. And I think, especially in your Ring of Honor debut, to get a win like that over a cat like that. That just solidifies how much ROH believes in you.
Right. And Bandito being the pro that he is, helped me a lot because the night before that, I had ripped my toenail off, and I was also battling some sort of flu type of gimmick. So that was a tough one all around. But shout out to him because he's killer in every way. And being an ROH debut, right? You're full of nerves and everything, right? So it was a crazy, crazy night, and I definitely didn't expect it to go the way that it did, but here we are.
Here we are, and you know what? The great thing about that match was, if there was a lot of people, you're already a viral sensation from that insane. We know the clip I'm talking about, the 630 through the table or through the door, onto your opponent in that match. I still watch that clip. I watched that clip. When you were coming to Destiny, that's how I discovered you. I was like,
nice,
I gotta check this guy out. And then, oh my God. And I saw the 630. I was just I shared it. I was like, if anybody hasn't seen a 630 onto a door, Merry Christmas.
There you go.
And you know what? It was crazy because that clip just blew up.
Yeah.
It blew up, got so many hits. And then I think that kind of helped springboard you. I mean, everybody in this day and age, everybody's goal is to go viral. I don't think your intention was to go viral. I think your intention was just to show off your skills. And a 630 onto a doorway, I don't know how you two walked out of that match, you and your opponent, because when you watch the video in slow motion, when you hit that last turn, it looks like your lower back clips the back of the door. Am I wrong in that?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt. Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things kind of comes with the territory. You just, if you're throwing it through the door, you're going to eat some door for sure. And
both gonna eat some door. Yeah,
no doubt.
So is the 630 a regular thing for you now? I mean, I've watched a few matches. I didn't see you drop it at Destiny. I don't think you did in that match, but
Right.
I believe in the Bandito match you did, or you almost hit it. I mean, that match is
I
so
think
long
I
ago.
like went for it or something like that in the Bandito match or like called for it or something. I didn't hit it for sure. Like I use it more now as like a super finisher, right? So if it's like I've thrown everything at you, like now I got to pull out the big boy, right? So and just I like to use it like innovatively too. Like if you haven't seen, actually, I'm wearing that shirt. The Joey Janela Escapes LA GCW event where I face Blake Christian, and that was like a breakout match for both of us. So if you haven't seen my work, that would be the one I recommend. And of course, the backyard event that we're talking about with the whole 630 through the door. But in that match, it was a 630 from the second rope and that sort of thing. So I like to do a little more innovation on the 630 one way or another. I did one recently through like a ladder set on the bottom rope. I don't know. I posted that to Instagram on Marco Stunt.
Oh, I was about to ask you about that one, but I seen it. I love when you mix. I think the 630 it already has so much flair on its own, but then
Right.
if you add another element, it's like having a great drink and then adding a little bit of a swing to it, like having a great cocktail, and then somebody throws a little whipped cream in there, and then
Sure.
it's like kick it up.
Right, right. It's the whipped cream. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
You
it's
know, the
definitely
ladder, the
whipped
door, the
630. Yeah.
right.
So, do you said super finisher, so I'm assuming when something big's on the line, like eventually maybe down the line an ROH title shot, that's when we will see the 630.
There you go. For
When
sure,
it's
for
like
sure.
I gotta go all out now because I got gold on the line. I may not walk out of the match, but when I'm getting carried out in a stretcher, I'll have the title belt wrapped securely
There you
in my
go.
arms.
There you go. There's a time and a place, right?
So talk to me about I'm curious because of doing my research, the internet is not always truthful. The internet has a couple things here and there. There's hidden truths.
Yeah.
I couldn't really find the incantation or the origin of the sauce. Where does that come from?
Really, it just like even like I was backyarding for years and stuff, like since I was 11. I'm 804 years old now. And and like I was always just for whatever reason obsessed with tacos. And then just like I think the sauce more it came later because like it became more of a thing in like the hip hop culture, you know, the whole thing. And then and I was doing music, and then it was kind of like these two worlds collided of like, okay, I like tacos, and that's my whole wrestling thing. And then there's the whole like swag of like the hip hop thing. So then the sauce just kind of came out of, you know. So that's really where it came from, and it was more recent. Yeah, it was in like the last year and a half or so that I started using the sauce. And I think too, like everyone kind of has their little moniker and stuff like that. And Alex Zayne is such a short, concise like name. And even like people when they would like ring announce, they'd be like, "Hey, so like, what's your nickname?" You know, so I can like pepper that in, and I would be like, "Yeah, I don't got one." So I you know had to have something for sure. And yeah, it just kind of stuck.
So in your love of tacos, because I'm a big fan of tacos as well. I'm not gonna lie, I love tacos, but when it comes down to it, if I can get my hands on a fajita, I go
Oh,
that
okay.
route for sure.
I like it. I like it.
I'm a fajita guy, steak, chicken, sometimes steak and chicken,
Right.
sometimes steak, chicken and pork.
Oh,
Sometimes you just throw as much as you can in there.
yeah, just
So
everything.
you've been all over, you've traveled all over.
Mhm.
So and every place, especially those little kind of one horse towns,
Of
they
course.
all got their little mom and pop like diner dive
Of course.
where you could probably find a good taco. In your opinion, out of all the places you've hit, where is the best, not franchise, not chain, forget Taco Bell, leave it off the table.
Right.
Where
Okay.
is the best mom and pop taco that my fans, my listeners can go to based on a recommendation from the sauce?
Oh man. Okay. Running through the taco list because I do like everywhere I travel, I try to hit like a taco spot. Like actually, it's not tacos. There's a really good burrito spot. I'm sure they have tacos, but we get there's like huge burritos at this spot in Chicago called El Faro, and me and all the freelance boys always go up there when I'm there. So shout out to Matt Nix, Castro, Alex Olson, all those guys. We always hit up Alfaro when I'm up there. But taco specifically, if you want to spend a little extra on a taco. It's like the most expensive taco I ever ate. But the mahi tacos at James Beach, um, which is actually the taco they're talking about in the movie I Love You Man, if you've ever seen that movie.
Yes.
But he's like,
yes,
oh, you
that
gotta
movie
have
holds
like,
a special place in my heart for sure.
yes, right? It's great. And they're talking about the tacos at this James Beach restaurant, and I think it's in Venice. I think I'm gonna Google it now. Let's see.
Sweet. We're on a YouTube video that's going to go live and viral a couple months from now, and we're Googling the best tacos.
We're
I love it.
Googling the best tacos. I think it's James Beach taco. Yeah. I think it's just called James. Yeah, it's Venice. It's in Venice. So if you're ever in Venice, stop by James Taco. It's going to cost you like $30 for 2 tacos, but it's worth it for sure.
Well, it's better than the 2 Chainz $1.5 million gold taco.
Yeah, what, right? And it's probably, you're eating gold. Like, is that good? Is that going to taste good? I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, are you going to try to mine for gold when it comes out the other end? That's my question about all that.
You got to.
You have to mine for it because you spend $1 million on it. It better be worth it.
Right.
It's like that episode of Futurama where Fry spends like $45 million on the last thing at anchovies. What people will do with stupid amounts of money.
Yeah, don't give me stupid amounts of money because I don't, it's just going to be ridiculous. Wild things are going to happen at that point.
If I had stupid amounts of money, I would do all the responsible things. I would put, nest eggs away for my kids. I'd pay off my house. I'd fly my wife to like her dream destination. I'd do all that. And then with everything else, I would literally build a chair that I could sit in buck naked, that had a toilet in it, that I could just play video games on and essentially never leave.
Nice.
That would be the dream.
Nice.
That would be the dream. I would be completely unhealthy and unsanitary, but that would be the dream.
That's fine.
Everybody's got to have a dream.
Right, absolutely.
So, Alex, one thing I do want to ask, that match with, like I said, the match with Bandito, that's one of my favorites, hands down. All the backyard wrestling stuff that you did was just epic. Obviously the 6:30 video, and as we get closer to when this episode does drop, I will be sharing that video again across all my socials. I'll make sure I tag you in that for sure, because people got to see what we're talking about. They got to get the history. Right. But the match that I saw you at, obviously with Aiden Prince, that one holds a special place for me because I got to see you in such an intimate setting. I don't know if you remember that match at all, because we're talking about almost 6 months ago now. But you guys came out. You both had, your swagger. You're definite. That's his home arena. That's his home build.
Home turf.
You're coming in as a relative unknown to the Destiny universe.
Definitely.
So you walk in, and the first thing I remember you guys doing is a little smile, a little snicker, a push, middle finger, and then we just exchanged blows.
Right.
And then there was just an artistic storytelling, because both of you are high flyers, both of you are high risk, high reward, but also sometimes high risk and not so much high reward, as we saw in that match. He went for a leg drop on the turnbuckle. You completely slid out from underneath it, and he dropped right on his butt while he was down there grabbing his ass in complete pain. You came up and flipped him over onto the side rail of the ring. So nothing but pain and punishment. A door was brought out, but never used. It was kind of laid there. We worked on it, but it never really got used to full.
I know we used we did a table on the outside, very similar to the 6:30, but it was a spiral tap over through the table on him. So he got to taste a little bit.
He got to taste a lot that night. But the one thing about that match that stands out to me was, you're obviously, when you're a high flyer like you are yourself, people recognize that and they remember that. But what I think impressed me the most about that match was your striking ability and your speed.
Thank you.
Aiden Prince, I know Aiden Prince very well. He's got a lot of speed, but you kept up with him. And at some points, if this was a race, you would have actually lapped him a few times, because
it's these long dancer's legs I got.
Long. But your speed and all that stuff, I think it's an underwhelming tool that I don't really, you get to utilize it so much, but I think it's one of the strongest points in your arsenal. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a little less expected too from me as far as opponents go, because like I'm taller or whatever, so they don't expect it, right? So then I get to kind of surprise them with it. I don't show it right off the bat, right? And it'll sneak up on you. like a sleeper, so to speak, if you're familiar with that term in the racing community, right? It's like, oh, doesn't look that fast, and then yeah, I'll be right
It's
there
like
with
a
you.
guy showing up at a racetrack with a Dodge Shadow and blowing
Right.
out the guy with the Corvette because he's got
Exactly.
350 Hemi underneath the engine.
Exactly, right. It's a sleeper.
Uh,
So
that was my
yeah,
first car, actually, was a Dodge Shadow. I drove that thing into the ground, but it was pretty awesome. It was
nice,
pretty
nice.
awesome.
Drive it till the wheels come off, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Um,
Well, yeah, I can only fill the gas tank halfway too because if I did, it would leak out.
oh
So
wow.
yeah, yeah, this thing
That's
was a
like
death trap on wheels.
that's amazing.
This is what happens when you buy 500 when you pay $500 for a car. You get what you get.
We all have we
That's
all
it.
have our $500 cars. Actually, I'm restoring a car I spent $500 on. Well, it was actually 450 a couple years back, so I'm restoring that. It's a 78 Cadillac hearse, so that's in the works. Yeah,
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. Got to
Well, you're gonna
restore
have to
that
send me some
underground.
pictures of that when
I
it's
will.
done.
I will. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, with the Aiden Prince match, it had some history to it actually because we both came up on the same backyard forums. Alexa, stop. Sorry about that. But we both came up on the same backyard forums, so we were well familiar with each other, and it was just so cool to finally get to meet each other and get to wrestle each other. There's so much of that on the indie scene because obviously so many of us went on to pursue professional wrestling and just to see your brothers from when you were, I don't know, 15 years old posting videos on the internet and just kind of critiquing each other and whatever, calling each other idiots online. And then, here we are having just crazy matches all over the world at this point. It's awesome. So
It is. It absolutely is fantastic when you can see your brothers in arms come up together. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand about the wrestling community. It is a very big community, but it's also very tight knit. Everybody knows everybody. Reputations count. Um, how you stand out with one another in the ring, how you tell a story. You could be the best wrestler in the world. You could be one of the top ones of all time. But if you have a shitty attitude, you're not going to get the bookings. You're not going to get the representation, and people aren't going to get to know you.
mm,
And that's one thing I don't ever hear about you and about Aiden. Everybody who says that they work with you guys, all the research I've done, people I've asked, have all said the same thing, very similar. I think your storyline of walking both paths, I'm just reiterating because the connection is up and down right now because
mm,
Skype. You
right.
got to find
Gotta
a
love
better.
it.
Everyone's got to find a better thing than Skype. There has to be something. If there's
Right.
any nerd out there watching this show, please find something better than Skype.
I know
But
people have been doing what's it called, Zoom or something like that recently. I've done a
but
few of
then I
those.
also heard that the Russians get a backdoor into your computer. So I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
what
know. It's
the?
all scary. It's
You
all
gotta
scary.
you gotta watch it, man. Can't be
Gotta
too safe.
Yeah, exactly. We all know what the Russians did with Facebook. That's why I try to stay off it as much as
Thanks a
possible now.
lot, Facebook.
You've ruined everything. But in terms of being a wrestler in this day and age, like you've been wrestling since 2005, so you're not new to this business. You've been wrestling around for we're going on 15 years. Congratulations on 15 years,
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Thank you.
Staying healthy, staying strong. But in terms of being a wrestler in 2005 when you started, to let's say 2012 when social media kind of became the norm. Because in
Right.
2005 the internet was there, but it wasn't as existent as it is now.
Sure.
YouTube was there. All these things were just started, but they weren't really where they are now. So, in terms of my question being, from when you were started to where you are now, do you think that social media has helped get your name out there further than it
Oh yeah.
might have had it not been around?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And I think there's a couple of different schools of thought on that really, but like it was different for me because like when I first started in 2005, I was in and out. After that, like probably 2008-ish maybe, I kind of had a falling out with wrestling, so to speak. Just kind of burnt myself out, whatever. And because the local scene was just ugh, and it was hard to do anything. And then like it wasn't that I even caught a bad rep in the local scene. It was like the old heads didn't like my style, so then they didn't want to book me. And it's like, okay, well, the old heads in the local scene are who's booking the local scene, because the only people in the local scene who are running anything are wrestlers really trying to get themselves over a lot of times. And I mean, not now, but at the time. And so it was like fighting to even like secure bookings. Like the bookings were there, but it was like they weren't good, or they were like, all right, but don't do this and don't do that, that sort of thing. And I'm like, you gotta let me do what I came to do. You can't just stifle me, whatever. So, yeah, I kind of stepped out of it because it was so much different then, and there wasn't as much. Uh, it was harder to be in touch with like other companies, of course, because social media wasn't as prevalent and stuff. So it was harder to get your name out and stuff like that. Then I dabbled again in like 2013 or so, and social media was there, but it wasn't nearly as strong, and I wasn't really pushing either. And then I guess I reemerged after that again in like 2016 under a mask for like 5 or 10 matches, and then got out of the mask because I couldn't breathe in the damn thing, and I was like, no, I'm good. And that's because I was doing the music, and for whatever reason in my head, I wanted to keep the music and the wrestling separate. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a masked thing and then keep the music separate because, of course, I still had the itch, still wanted to wrestle. And then, yeah, after the mask thing, I was like, yeah, screw it, I'm just gonna do both. And I was doing the whole music thing, but where I was doing the whole music thing since 2007, and I was really pushing that on social media and everything. I had learned a lot about social media, and so like that was very beneficial once wrestling became more of a full-time thing, as I was really pushing that on social media. And yeah, it helped a lot, for sure. I mean, I went to Japan off social media, literally off that viral clip, and just all of my bookings pretty much come off social media because like someone sees the clip or someone sees whatever they see, right? And that gets them to watch something else, and okay, let's bring this guy in, type of thing. So yeah, absolutely. Social media is a lifesaver, and I think wrestlers are really not taking enough advantage of it. I mean, I know that I'm not taking enough advantage of it. I see some people out here absolutely killing it as far as the internet goes, and like Danhausen and Warhorse and Effie and all these guys, Dan the Dad even. So yeah, I think there's so much more room online for everyone to just kind of carve their own little niche out and just go hard on the internet, and it'll do a lot for everyone who does that too. If you secure your own sort of following and fan base, then it really beats out even your in-ring skill. There's plenty of people who are likely better than me at what I do, even in ways, but I've became the go-to name for that thing. If you want some wacky 630 through a table, this is the name that comes to your mind. So that's it's about personal branding in a way that, like, okay, I've branded myself with that or whatever it is. So if you want someone to jump off of something on your show, then you know who to reach out to, right?
I do. I know the
Right.
first name that pops into my head. 630 through a door. Yeah, give Alex Zayne a call.
Yes, there you go.
He'll hook you up.
Right.
He'll hook you up. So in terms of cutting your teeth in backyard wrestling, coming up through like the lower grade promotions, working, literally the grind in the middle of the field somewhere. Sometimes there's a porta potty right next to the ring. Absolutely. Because that's how backyard wrestling is. Lots of them. And then getting into the more flashier setups, the more main stage setups, the more better lighting, better sound, better ring, because we all know a backyard ring and a ring in an actual arena is going to be 10 times different. Every ring may look the same, but it does not feel the same on a bump. Oh, yeah. I've never taken a bump, luckily, but I mean, it can't be easy. You're talking a 2x4 by 2 inches or 6 inches of padding, depending on the budget, and that's literally it. And then metal and steel underneath.
Actually, if I remember correctly, at the Destiny show with Aiden Prince, I think it was right before my match, the guys came back and they were like, oh, it's bumping so stiff or something like that. And then there was some sort of intermission or something, and they took this bar out from underneath, that, like, there's a way basically to convert a wrestling ring into a boxing ring where it's almost just like a hardwood floor. And I guess they had some sort of centerpiece under the ring in all the matches before mine. And I was just like, you poor guys. Like, oh my God. Right. So yeah, we got really lucky that they went in before my match and took that out. So I didn't have to.
Thank God for being big names because you were lower on the card. That's the good thing, right?
Right. Yeah. So we let everyone else go and kind of figure it out for us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you to all the guys before that match to make sure Alex Zayne had it comfortable when he was bumping with Aiden Prince. That's perfect.
But yeah, rings do not bump the same. Like as you do climb in the ranks, man, the rings do get better. And I've definitely been to some indie feds that just had really awesome rings. One of my main concerns with any ring isn't always the way it bumps, of course, because like a bump's a bump. It's always going to hurt. You're always going to feel. It's always going to take a toll. Yeah, it's not always concrete. So but one of the main things that I'm concerned with, of course, is the ropes and how tight they are and how secure they are. So, and all sorts of ropes are different. Some are taped up, some are actual rope, some are cable with like a hose around them. The cable and hose like gets tighter and is better for a lot of things, but certain things suck on it if they're not taped up because then the hose kind of like swivels around the cable. So like on springboards and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, ropes are always a concern for me. That's usually the first thing I'm looking at when I go into a new spot.
So, question for you you mentioned about being in the mass for a little bit, 5 to 10 matches, because you wanted to keep your music and your wrestling separate. Then you realized, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Mm-hmm. And side note, as we talked before we went on, Bout Shit. That song, I love the jam. I love the video. I love everything about it. I think both you and the girl that's featured on the song,
Whitney
you guys, oh yeah, man, you guys absolutely kill it. And it's actually now I've added it officially to my workout playlist. I know it doesn't look like I work out often, but when I do, it is on the playlist.
I understand. You got to make room for the tacos. I get it. I'm the same way.
My wife's Italian, so she cooks like a champ.
Oh man!
So I don't go hungry. I have no complaints there.
Italian food. Hell yeah!
Well, next time you're down in Mississauga, you got to come over, man. She'll make you.
I will.
All right, there we
Italian
go.
Food. I'll be there.
Perfect.
Absolutely. That video was really fun actually because I had never ridden a 4-wheeler, and so that was like my first time riding a 4-wheeler. Well, like I'd ridden one like briefly, but as far as like getting out and just going to town on one, and like she lived in Arizona and she had just moved to Arizona, and we were trying to line up this music video. We had originally had it lined up for her to be. If you watch the video, there's a shoot happening like in Arizona on 4-wheelers, and then there's another part of the same video that's on the Santa Monica Pier. And she was in LA at the time, and we were trying to line that up, but then things got sideways. Things kind of went off the rails as far as like the scheduling of stuff, so we couldn't get her to that video shoot. So we went ahead and just shot what we could, and then I was like, okay, I'll catch up with you later, and we'll do something for your verse, basically. And so I flew out, like me and my camera guy and my beat maker and stuff. I flew us all out to Arizona, and then we shot another music video, which is still unreleased. And then we shot the Bout Shit video with her. And I was just like, I'm just going to, like, we were trying to figure out what to do. And I was like, I'm just going to rent a couple 4-wheelers and we're just going to hit the desert. And that's what we did. And it was awesome too, because I'd never been far enough south in the desert land to see those giant cactus, these guys.
See, you wouldn't know that was actually outside. This looks so movie-like,
right?
That it would hard to know that they were real, but they are. That was one of my questions. Did you shoot that portion on like a sound stage, or was that legit? So that was legitimately Arizona, deep in the desert of Arizona.
Yeah. Nice. It's called like Black Trail or something like that, and it's just right outside of Phoenix. Yeah, we drove outside of Phoenix into the desert and just looked. There's trails everywhere. If you've ever been through like New Mexico and Arizona and stuff, like I guess just because it's the desert, people are just like make it a trail, right? There's just trails everywhere. But we asked actually when we picked up the 4-wheelers, I was like, I need something that's not going to be too busy, because some of the trails get obviously pretty busy, and something that kind of has this vibe to it. And they said, oh, go out here. Yeah. So I can't remember what it was called, Black something, Black Hawk, Black Trail, Black something. And we went out there, and we were just having a blast. That was awesome. Like most of the time was just spent goofing off on 4-wheelers, honestly, more than it was shooting the music video. We're just like, okay, let's run this verse then, now that we've, we were just dirty and stuff. I thought it was going to come through actually on the camera. We were just caked in like that dirt the whole time, but it looked fine.
No, you guys look proper. You guys look good. And the video, if anybody's wanted to check it out, Alex Zayne YouTube page, subscribe, and check out the videos, man. That one, Vouch It though, man, that's on my playlist for sure. I keep that on my playlist for a while.
Yeah, it's all on
One thing
Spotify and stuff too. So if you
Spotify, iTunes, all that kind of stuff, right?
Anyway, yeah.
All right, so support. If you can't support the man at wrestling shows, support him through his music because he could use a little bit of it right now for sure, as everyone can.
Absolutely.
So that's what I wanted to actually ask. My next question. Right now, wrestling is stonewalled. You're not going anywhere. You're probably working out, keeping your body ring ready for when everything gets lifted.
We
are kind of seeing a lot. We're seeing a line at the end of the tunnel because things are starting to open, but there's restrictions. It's probably going to be, as much as it breaks my heart to say this, closer to the end of the year before we get any wrestling shows. And that's just the realistic thing of it. I don't want to be the naysayer. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but that's the truth. So in terms of now probably having a creative outlet, you got all this energy you want to get out. Are you working on some new stuff? Have you been in the studio? Have you been working on some new stuff?
I've been definitely working on some new stuff. I have a lot of stuff that was like recorded. Wrestling really picked up, and music kind of took a backseat for a little bit. And this has been a good time to kind of revisit a lot of that. I have 2 music videos that are already recorded where they're being edited, and they'll be put out just kind of when I see the best timing, because they're got a lot of stuff, moving parts, but. And I have so many songs that were recorded, not music videos or anything, but just songs that were recorded that I've been going through more recently, and just like almost came to the realization that I had so many songs unreleased, and then I have so many songs still then written and not even recorded yet that I'm just like, wow, okay. So I think there's probably 35, 45 songs like pretty much in the chamber. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely been something that I've been kind of mulling over and talking about, releasing. Obviously, the music videos. There's a lot of time and effort that was already put into these music videos. So I definitely want to get them out there. I really enjoy the songs and stuff too. So I want to get those out there, and then I think the next step with that would be to kind of do a couple releases like that, and then look eventually into some sort of EP type of drop, some sort of solid piece of work.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think that the greatest part about any situation where a situation like this kind of happens is that the creative outlet is there, and now you're able to focus on one other passion. So you focus on the music for a little bit, and then when wrestling comes back, you pick up where you left off.
Right.
In terms of ROH, because they have such an impressive roster, and now you are a part of that roster. So in terms of ROH and everything they got cooking, when everything's listed and when all the everything's go, you get the thumbs up from the world and say, boom, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
What is one dream match from any member of the ROH roster you want to get in on as soon as possible? There's got to be an ROH dream match for you. I mean, other than going at the title, there's got to be somebody
of course.
you want to get your hands on. I mean, I see a few. I see PCO in there. I mean, when you mention PCO, you cannot mention Marty Scurll. Right. They've also got the affiliation with NWA. So one that I think would be interesting if you haven't wrestled them would be Zicky Dice. He's a television champion for NWA. I had the pleasure of sitting down with him. He is literally outlandish. And I think outlandish versus the Sauce would be absolutely epic.
He is. Yeah. I would love that. I would love that match for sure. He's killer. He's also doing well for himself on the internet. He's another person that should be thrown in that hat of like knows how to work it on the internet, social media and all. And just ROH in general. Oh, man, it's kind of tough because I already had the Bandito match, right? That was definitely a dream match of mine. And watching his performance last year and Best of Super Juniors and stuff like that, like killer. And of course all of his PWG stuff. But it would have been Jeff Cobb. He's kind of jumping ship, right? So, and I had that match fortunately in the New Japan tour that we did, and that was awesome. I think it would go down to I was actually lined up the day the pandemic hit. I was in Vegas with ROH, and I was supposed to have this match, a tag match against PCO and Brody King. So like they're definitely on that list. Marty Scurll's definitely on that short list. And actually one maybe less expected in a Styles sort of way would be me versus Jonathan Gresham, because Jonathan Gresham is the only seminar that I ever took, and I learned a lot in 4 and 5 hours that he gave us of his time in Seattle like last April. And it was right before he was going out to Best of Super Juniors. And then I took that seminar and I soaked up so much knowledge from that, because he's an incredible just mind for the business. And then it was right 3 months later, I was going viral.
Wow. Wow. So I guess we could say he's kind of like a mentor to you in a way.
Yeah, in a short 5 hour sort of way. Yeah. And he's a great guy. And he just has a really good way of teaching things. So, yeah, if you ever have the chance, spend the money, go to a Jonathan Gresham seminar. I mean, so many people were in that seminar. Shotzi was in that seminar.
Shotzi Blackheart, yeah, she's another one who's a former Destiny alumni, and now she's got her own little tank rolling out on NXT.
That's right.
She's getting, it must be exciting for you. And like I said, it's a big community, but it's a small community. When you see so many of your friends, excuse me 1 second. It almost came out, but it didn't. So when you see so many of your friends and yourself grinding, making these big moves, making these jumps, making these, getting noticed, getting the exposure, it's got to be like, damn, like that's a whole crop of young talent, like this, this third generation, second generation young talent that's coming in, because as we're seeing, a lot of wrestlers are in the twilight of their careers.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you look at guys like Triple H and Undertaker and all those Batista, John Cena, they're all in the twilight of their careers. I know I mentioned a lot of WWE guys there, but I could even say, I don't want to say guys like PCO, because PCO at the age of 52, he's probably in the best shape he's ever been in his life.
Right.
So there's some that are dwindling, some that are still excelling, but nobody wants to get to that Ric Flair age where they're 70-something and still wrestling, even though he's a legend, and when he goes, it's going to be a sad day. But let's be realistic. The last 6 years of his career probably weren't the strongest, something he probably doesn't want to remember. Other than that match with Shawn Michaels, which was Emotion City that night.
Incredible.
WrestleMania, man. That was one of my all-time favorite WrestleMania matches.
I mean, that's two of the goats. That's what happens.
Shawn Michaels is a goat for me, but just nowadays, I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, but I'll say it. Nowadays, I spend a lot of times more staring at his eyes, because there's that one eye kind of goes to the, and I don't mean to be rude.
He said that. I think he said that happened in a match, right? He took a bump or something and just like a muscle detached or something from the.
Yeah.
Wild to think
that plus chair shots, and then you go back and you watch like the Saudi shows with him and the Brotherhood of Destruction and Triple H. It's just like four guys that looked like they were so tired, and I felt bad for all four of them, because that's a match a lot of us are going to remember, and that sucks because you don't want to go out like that.
Right.
But when you see this young talent, all these young cats like you coming up, I mean, it's got to be like, damn, I know her. I knew her when, and look at her now. Look at me now. Look at this guy now. Like, we're all killing it together. It just sucks that the wrestling business is so together in the indies, but so divided when you get to the bigger promotions that there can never be cross promotion. I don't see ROH and WWE teaming up to do a show together.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the most cross promotion you will get, I think, is like kind of the overseas stuff that's less competitive. But even now, with the internet being such a thing, like, even those things are becoming more competitive. New Japan's trying to do the whole U.S. bit now and the whole global thing. And I know WWE is talking about doing a NXT in Japan or something like that. So yeah, it's getting more and more competitive. But it is awesome to see everyone kind of securing their spots, and like that's the thing I like to see too. And I want to see more of it when I talk about social media marketing and all of that. Is you have so many of these awesome talents, and you have so many people that are killing it on social media that, truthfully, whether they're signed or not, they're going to be fine, because they are really carving out this audience just for themselves, and they're collecting it in the right way, and yada yada. Not to get too marketing on everyone, but there's so many people who are so talented that I would love to see do more of that and secure more of their leverage and more of their spot that way, even if someone did come knocking with a contract and stuff like that, they would have a little more bargaining chip and bargaining power, right? So there's not enough talk about it, I think, in wrestling in general. So there needs to be more of that. I know Danhausen recently talked about doing a seminar or some sort of program online about online marketing and stuff. So if he does that, everyone go jump on that, because everybody needs to be doing more of that. But with everyone, watching around and like, oh, this guy's maybe getting signed or just killing it on the indies and getting these awesome opportunities or whatever. And I've always been like such a huge fan of like people winning, just anybody. Like I could even just not know him, like I could see, like I don't really know Dan the Dad. I more recently met him, and like just I heard his pop at a show that I was on, and I was like, that's awesome. Like that's awesome. And like immediately, like when I talked to him, I was like, oh, have you thought about this and that and this and that? Just because like it gets my wheels turning too, So always been a huge fan of just anybody winning. Everyone who I'm close with, Blake Krishna and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm sure they're just like, shut the hell up, because I'm always trying to like think of stuff and come up with ideas like with them in mind and stuff too, because man, the more of us who win, like that's what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So it kind of sucks too, because like during this whole pandemic thing, you see a lot of people getting released from the bigger companies and stuff, and then that's kind of, they're putting them back in our pond, and spots are limited, really. They're not to be like a, I don't know, negative person, but realistically, there's only so many spots on a card, and there's only so many cards happening. So, yeah, and they're gonna get a lot of the immediate bookings because they came from the Dove, right? Or wherever.
they come with a name. They come with a name, for sure.
Right. So that they're gonna pick them up and stuff and just start putting them on all the cards, and that's not a bad thing. I think that's great, because then people like myself and stuff like that get these opportunities to have great matches with them, and more eyes on us because the eyes are on them from the WB, and so there's a lot of good from that, but at the same time, some people aren't going to make it on that card at all because, right, like their spot was taken, and the budget, there's always a budget to think about, and when you're booking a card, and they eat up a little more budget, and they earned it, so I'm not hating, but they take maybe 2 or 3 guys spots off of that card, because
they, instead of spreading it out and paying these 2 or 3 guys, they got to pay this lump sum to this one guy or this one girl, and like you said, rightfully deserved. But
absolutely.
yeah, it cuts.
It makes for an interesting climate, and it also makes it. Hopefully, it's making people more aware on the indie scene. Hey, you better work, you better grind.
I think it does. I think competition is healthy, but I also think, to touch on what you said, I think inspiration breeds inspiration. If you see somebody inspiring you to do better in one form or facet of your character, like a Danhausen, then you're going to excel at that. And you're going to say, okay, so Danhausen does just these killer videos, and he's freaking hilarious. And I just want to literally buy everything that he sees. I got him hanging on my wall right over there, man. I mean, I met the guy. He's a great dude.
Right.
And, you want to see him. You want to see everybody succeed and excel. But it's those guys that give that little bit more, take that little bit extra time, they will jump to the forefront. So like you said, you better grind, you better work, and you better hustle, because wrestling doesn't sleep. And if you sleep on wrestling, it's going to pass you. Your opportunities will pass you by. And that's wisdom from Alex Zayne. That's huge. That's huge. wisdom from the sauce. I love it. Alex, this interview took a bit of time to get to, but I'm so jacked and excited that it happened. No, man, it's all good. I understand.
We had to reschedule, and then my Skype.
I was my messages weren't like, oh, look, he screwed me again. No, I'm not a kid kicking around a rock. If you're going to give me the time, I'm going to work around that, and I appreciate that. And I do want to let you know, I got one more question, and we're going to wrap it up. But I do want to let you know now, you are officially a member of the Straight Talk family. You have my Skype ID. I have yours. So anytime you want to come back on the show.
Skype ID, actually. I just registered this Skype ID for this Skype call because my other one was broken. So how dare you, Skype?
I'm a big deal. I'm a really big deal. I'm not as big as the sauce, but I'm like the cheese that follows the sauce.
Hey, everybody loves cheese. Can't have
Everybody loves
it.
Jesus.
Right.
That's right. So, and also too, if you don't follow me, please follow me on all my socials. Straight Talk Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, _ at Straight Talk at Twitter. And while I'm shouting out my socials that I'm hoping the Sauce will follow, the Sauce can shout out his socials as well.
Of course, I'm everywhere. Alex Zayne, AlexZayne. If it's an @ handle, then it's all one word. I never put spaces or underscores or any of that in there, except for on PS4, because PS4. But yeah, so yeah, if you want to find me anywhere, Alex Zayne, pretty easy to find. Look for the guy probably doing something off of something and making weird faces.
And subscribe to the YouTube page so you can see that 6:30 through the door that we were talking about.
Absolutely.
That made the Sauce blow up.
Absolutely.
But my last question for you, we touched so much on marketing, we touched so much on everything, and how you cut your teeth pretty much on the backyard wrestling scene. Never really asked about training. I'm not sure if you were, trained before you cut your teeth on the backyard wrestling, or you went into backyard and you just cut your teeth that way. But in terms of advice for a young fan, male or female, watching this, wants to get into the business, wants to learn from somebody like yourself, somebody who's, on ROH, somebody who grinded and achieved that plateau, that spot. What would you say to that young fan, boy or girl, listening that might want to get into this business? Just we already talked about the marketing and all that stuff, but anything from the wrestling side that you would like to impart on that?
Oh man, there's no one route. That I took a very unconventional route. I've seen several people do it. I didn't come strictly from backyarding. I did pursue some training, but it was a local small shindy fed that went under literally 4 or 5 matches after I had started with them. So I started training with them around 16. Couldn't debut in Kentucky because athletic commission until I was 18. So I trained for a couple of years under them. I was still backyarding that whole time. Couldn't tell them about it because they were like, backyard wrestling bad. And so I got trained under them, and then I was honing a lot of that skill and using it in the backyard and kind of like really internalizing it, right? And then, like I said, they shut down. I was only 4 or 5 matches into my indie career in 2005, and they shut down. And then I kind of had to like sink or swim. And at the time it was a lot of bobbing up and down. There was a lot more sinking than it was swimming. And then several years later, here we are. But that came from not undervaluing, one, the power of social media and marketing. It's very important. And then 2, understanding and being real with myself. If you're the flippy guy, be the flippy guy. Do the flip, right? And that's not to say don't polish the other sides of your craft and stuff like that, of course, but really double down on your strengths. If you're a technical guy or a story guy or a character guy, double down on your strengths. Downhouse, again, another prime example. Warhorse, again, another prime example of they were so strong with characters. Really, it's what's going to stand out if you're watching their matches and stuff like that, more so than how well did they suplex the guy. So, and if you're a technical guy, then how well you suplex a guy is pretty damn important. So really just double down on your strengths. Don't get caught up in just kind of like the political side or the conventional side of how to come up in wrestling, right? Just focus, grind, have a good attitude, right? Don't piss people off. That's never going to get you anywhere. Arguments, don't be petty, right? All that stuff. I think that goes without saying. I mean, that's in anything. It's a job. You're not going to go into, I don't know, McDonald's and start a bunch of drama on the line and, or you get fired. And then unfortunately, wrestling is a little different than McDonald's, where if you get fired, you can't go across the street to Wendy's, right? In wrestling, you get fired from this joint. Wendy's already knows why you got fired. Wendy's already knows about you, right? It's much like he was saying earlier. It's much more tight knit. So, yeah, just double down on your strengths. Don't get caught up in the bullshit. And the power of social media. That's really it. Throw someone through a door. I love it. Always works. Worked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I did 6:30 through the door. If you want to go above the 6:30, 7:20, do the 7:20, and then you'll top Alex Zayne.
There you go. Perfect.
Alex, what can I say, man? I was honored to speak with you today. I'm so glad that we were able to get this locked. By the time this video drops, it's going to be August. That's when the interview will be dropping. So keep an eye out for that on the socials.
Hopefully we're wrestling again by now.
I hope so, man. I can't wait to see. Hey, you just saw him on ROH last week, but check out the Skype call I did when the whole world was shut down. That would be dope.
There you go. That would be dope.
All right, guys. As always, I'm George Mackay. Thank you so much for watching and listening today, wherever you get your podcast platforms. My partner in crime today was Mr. Alex Zayne. Again, thank you, sir, so much. Guys, tune in next week. As always, follow the socials because you're going to find out who the guest is next week. I would tell you, but I never will. Because if you don't follow the socials or pay attention, it's not my problem. That's how I get it out. That's how I get the information out. Alex, you take care. You be safe. And I can't wait to talk to you again, sir.
Hey, you guys too. Much love. See you guys later. Straight Talk Wrestling. Subscribe, like it, do all that stuff. Bye.
All right. Peace.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for another episode on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. Also follow us on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And for all our merchandise, you can search us on ProWrestlingTees.com.